call the meeting to order at 5:30.
Second.
Mike Volpone.
David Dempsey.
Mariah Missy.
Celine Muldowney.
Mark Sam.
Reading the previous minutes. Mark, thank you very much for sending those out. The only one I found was the things you said you fixed, and we're good from there. They're right there.
Came out.
All it was the very last line, right down by your finger where he didn't continue that line, but he did 6 bullets later, so that was the only thing I found,
Yeah.
which was no big deal. It's all Jim's fault. For the viewing audience,
The
happy New
amended
Year.
minutes from June 21st.
Those are the minutes in which we misspelled Lucy and we misspelled another word.
In June?
No.
I got the right one. Should be the December 4th ones.
Yeah, I thought-
Make it amended to the last meeting was
Oh.
the October,
November.
November meeting. Good pickup. November meeting, I'll figure out what other date they are.
Sorry, I didn't see
No?
these in advance. I didn't. I'll be quick. Okay.
Any questions, comments? Do I hear the motion to accept the amended minutes?
Make a motion to accept the amended minutes for both October.
Should this be 5:30 p.m.?
Second.
Is it not?
Put down 5:30.
Sorry.
Amended October 25th minutes and December 4th minutes.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved? Correspondence. What do we get for mail?
Bills, I just picked these up, so I don't have them on a spreadsheet. But we have an expense here, it looks like for the gates to be, that were installed for $229, and then Townsend Oil for $168.
$229?
Yes. And 48 cents.
Who's
So,
that from?
it's from the town of Newbury. It's a reimbursement, but they went to the Tractor Supply store to buy the gates. So it looks like they paid for it in the past.
And who-
Okay.
So if it's okay with you guys, I'll go ahead and fill out the proper paperwork and sign off on it.
Any questions, comments?
And this oil is just for per month? Is that how they're coming in?
What's the first one we've gotten? The last
What
one
was it,
less.
140 something?
168.
168? Okay. Any other bills and claims? Okay. The old business. I hope to clear up a lot of this stuff, so I apologize for the confusion and the extra work on this. The basketball court at Central Street, has anybody heard anything on that back? Okay. Wait here
Is
from
there
Cap.
something we were supposed to be doing?
No, they were just waiting to hear back from capital planning. Okay.
Thank you.
I will leave that on there. So we hear something. Fee scheduling, format of fee chart, format of fee charge. Yeah, I think that's supposed to be. We haven't decided on a number yet. That's the one thing we already know the format. It's a question of, are we going with the 7 and 15, or are we going with 10 and 20? It sounds like we're down to that, unless someone's gonna come up with something else that we can really get into, but.
So, I, did not do my due diligence and reconfirm these numbers that I got from years past, last year. I just didn't have the time, but I figured, and nothing's gone down.
No, nothing would go down at this point.
No.
I also, and then David Broll dropped off his homework, which he did do. The other towns he contacted, so we can review all that. And then I also put an email out to Robin Volpone about Club Lacrosse
Mhm.
and what they, because I realized I'd only done the research on club soccer and not another sport.
Yep,
And so, in all fairness, I felt that I should find out what a typical club team pays in lacrosse for renting out fields. So I unfortunately only did that today. So here's a copy of my research and
David.
David's notes.
The thing about club,
Oh, sure.
club sports, is a lot of them don't use public space. When I looked at the Premier Soccer League, there's only a handful, GPS North Shore being one of them, that uses public space. A lot of them have private space, whether it's at a school.
Yep.
So the numbers are a little bit different. And same thing.
Right, and it's at the bottom of the chart. That was the research I came across last year. So the first chart looks like this, is the stuff that I did last year.
Mhm.
And you can see GPS, there's North Shore, which is us, and then Metro North, which is Woburn High School. South Shore is Weymouth Legion Fields or Cohasset High School. Metro Boston use Fezzen and Gann Academy, to your point. So, of course, it's never apples to apples, but, just, you know, my conversations with Sherburne and Weymouth were the ones that I kind of zeroed in on because they weren't paying for, private school rates. So, yeah, I'm sensitive to that fact, Mark. Woburn High School was amazing. So just trying to put a fair number around it for everybody.
Because I had my notes from before, and it's best if we try to do like communities, and it's hard. It's just not to be easy in terms of going from per person to per hour, because the research from areas, schools around, or area programs that abut us, it's per hour, and it's down from anywhere from no charge to $500 a unit for West Newbury. To Salisbury or Raleigh are like $5 or $6 per kid, when there's like a 90% rate of town residents involved. So it's hard to look at some of these numbers where we're taking unlike communities, be it size, structure-wise, and whether they're regional or not. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, we're not,
Because I mean, you look
we're
at,
not going,
if we look at Beverly, 5 tiers, if you're a Beverly resident, you're on one of their teams, they don't pay a fee.
yeah, he has it on his other one here. He did
Yeah.
give me more detail.
We can sit and beat this all over the place at this point.
Yeah.
I think it's just, if someone gonna make a would someone make a motion on what they wanna do and we'll vote on it? Because we need to start at least going someplace, because we've been talking about this for 4 months.
Right, when I looked at, and I made this proposal or conversation last meeting, of a cost analysis, I'm looking at 715, and while we might pick up a few, maybe pick up Pop Warner, how much work are we gonna lose? And you're saying, well, we don't know, and it's like anything, we don't know.
Work or we don't lose.
How much time GPS is gonna stay with us next fall? How much Tread and Youth Soccer stays with us? How much in the spring will lacrosse? Are we gonna be shooing them away to go to Salisbury where it's cheaper, or to Raleigh where it's cheaper?
But I think we're gonna have to go through a year of growing pains to find out. We can speculate, sit here and talk about what other towns do and what we think might happen, if we might lose somebody or somebody might go to another town. But I think the only way we're gonna really find this out is to make a decision on what we think a fair rate is for the facilities. And then go through the year and see how things go and see what works out, what doesn't work out, and then we can, if necessary, we can come back to the table, but, you know.
My feeling is in the long run, we're not trying to shoot them away, we're just trying to make people a little more accountable to the time they reserve the field, and I don't think that that's an unreasonable request.
I'm not disagreeing with you, Celine.
So I think that the ball is still in all the users' court as to determine what their fees are based on being a little more accountable to the time they rent the fields.
I'm not disagreeing with you. Our anecdotal evidence is clear. People sign up from 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night on a Saturday, and they're not there the whole time. I agree with that.
And I'm not advocating that we rent the fields 24/7 either, I'm trying to
agree.
find a balance in between.
What is Salisbury and Raleigh? What are those?
Salisbury, if you are a resident, 90% of the kids are from it. It's like $6. They also have exclusive use for priority with Pop Warner
$6 an hour or $6 a student?
Per person.
per person.
Per person.
It's 90%, 90 to 100%. Youth sports is a priority.
And that's.
Oh, excuse me, tier 1, it's 0. They, in lieu of fees, they do some services. Tier 2 is youth sports, and that's $5. Nonprofit organizations, it's $20 an hour, and under 60% of Salisbury residents, $35. So I don't know where GPS would fit under this, but right now, I would see them as a youth sport at $5 an hour.
GPS
Mm-hmm.
as a youth sport.
And then you said under
Yeah.
60%, what was,
That's 35.
and what does that include under, so that would be non-youth sport, non-profit, non-Salisbury?
That's right, you read it the same way I read it.
Okay. Because you're right, Salisbury has,
And they have a lot of fields. They have a lot of fields to choose from.
well, now with the fields behind it, it's not well maintained by any means.
No, but if it's free,
Yeah.
it's a good price.
You're gonna tell me GPS is gonna leave, or lacrosse probably the only one, because they don't have to worry about a ball going on the field as much. I mean, the balls are on it, and you have tall grass,
Well, it's
or
not
you have to look at a
$6.
field that's got,
No,
Is
that
it well
matters.
taken care of?
That matters.
oh yeah. So I mean, I'm
But
just looking to change that, but.
I don't wanna get into this
No,
match
I want-
between,
It's just, a decision needs to be made, and I'm asking for some, because I'm more than happy to do it, because I've done it the last couple, but I need a motion on the table to select a fee structure, and then let's vote on it, and if it goes, it goes, if it doesn't, it doesn't. Because the only way I'm either going 7 and 15, or 10 and 20, are my two choices that I'm going at. But again, someone can make a motion, going once.
I'll make a motion to have youth non-profit sports at $6 and youth for-profit, i.e. club level, at 13. And the numbers I put out earlier would raise about $40,000. That's from a previous document. And that would that in and of itself would cover our costs of what we are being appropriated.
If we go to 13 and we go to 6, so I have the calculations right here, I can look at it. What that does, just looking at youth lacrosse first, for the last 2 years, they paid $46.55, they would have paid $54.12. The second year, in the spring of 18, they paid $39.20, they would have paid $51.60, so you were talking 6, 12, about $1,800 more. If you look at youth soccer, they paid $5,000, they would have paid $4,300. The next year, I'm going from spring of 17 to fall to spring and back to fall this year. they paid $36.75, they would have paid $62.40. Next was $31.85 to $33, and then this coming fall, $26.25 to $5,800. So what they did pay was $14.5, and what they would have paid is $19.8. So we would have picked up $4,000 there. GPS, we would have picked up they would have paid $44,970 instead of the $42 they paid. So all told, you're probably talking 4, 5, about $9,000.
That,
Oh, what they paid, 10 grand.
more than that they,
What they were scheduled to play, if they had done, based on what they paid compared to if we use the structure.
okay, so what you're saying is they paid last year 20 grand about?
They paid, GPS paid $21,000 a year. I was going over 2 years, what I've got here numbers. So just this past year, they paid $21,000, and what they would have paid with this new fee structure was $22,000, so it would have gone up $1,000.
Okay,
That's at the $6 rate?
That's the $13 rate for GPS.
GPS, okay.
And if I look at youth soccer, just for the last year, it would have been $9,200 is what they would have paid, and they paid $58. So $3,400.
How's that gonna work so much more?
Numbers of kids?
No,
No.
No, this is
Hours
by
and
hours.
Based on the hours that they had, this is where they'll come down, because they had a total of 51 hours in the spring and 70 in the fall.
so I thought we were planning on charging the youth teams. How much? 5?
We had said 7 and 15. Which was, when the subcommittee met, we were talking 7 and
I'm
15.
willing to come down on youth sports, but I'm not willing to come down on club sports.
So if we
I
go
mean, I'm
down,
not, I just think it's, I would love to get to the point where we can come way down on youth sports. I've said this a number of times.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm looking at, if we went to 15 an hour, that would almost double what they're paying, correct?
And they haven't had a price increase in 10 years.
the past year, they would have paid
That's not our fault.
$25,000. Whoa, you asked a question, I'm giving you the answer. The past year, they would have paid $25,665. What they did pay was 21, so it's not double by any means. It's a 25% increase. They paid $10,500 this past year, the spring of the fall 18, spring of 18. $10,500 each session.
Yeah.
And what, and at $15 they would have paid, based on the hours, they would have paid $25,665.
That doesn't,
$665
a year.
for this past year.
okay.
So it's not even a 25%
It's
increase.
four grand of that, you're talking probably 18-19%. I'm just
So
giving
that would
And what
mean,
is it if it's 20?
20, this past year, they would have paid 34,220 compared to the 21, so it would have been about 50% increase. It's 13 grand, actually a little bit more, probably close to
So-
55 to 60.
with those numbers, how much would lacrosse additionally, total lacrosse pay?
If I had joined lacrosse, it's $6 for the last 2 years, just because they only do the one season. Their combined would have been $10,572, and what they paid was $8,575.
So they would bring in 10,000, but.
That's a
But $2 grand, over 2 years, so about
How much
$1,000.
would they pay for 1 year?
about
$51.60, and what they paid was $39.20, so
5160 with the new number. What's the new number for, with the 6 hours for soccer, town soccer?
for 2018, the combined would have been $92.46, and what they paid was $58.10.
And what is GPS for the year?
21,000 is what they paid. What it would have been at $15 an hour is $25,665.
Okay.
At $20 an hour, it's $34,220.
So that would generate about $40,000 in just, in that stream of revenue. Okay.
Additional revenue or total revenue?
Total.
Total revenue. From
Just
the-
wanna make sure we're clear on
Yeah.
that, because it's not, we're not by no means, because it's what they're paying now, so.
So all we're asking is that so what this would do, going back to the point of trying to get people more accountable for their hours, is for very little amount of hours to give up, they can kind of figure out their budget, and that would allow us to bring in some other things maybe that would,
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Barry,
When I looked
what
at,
do you disagree with?
I'm not necessarily disagreeing, I wanna make sure we get all the thoughts out so we are aware of it. Because when you look at the 4 to 8 o'clock, which some of these teams rent stuff, nobody's really using it after 7. Now, the problem becomes when somebody rents it, field 1 for 4 to 8 every day, and you don't use it. I agree. I'm agreeing with you. I have no problem with the per hour. I'm just saying, I just want to make sure that we've talked about it, that we agree with it, that we don't get a conversation started, and somebody says, have you thought about this? And we sit back and say, no, we didn't think of that. That we've covered all the bases. That the amount of money we're gonna generate from those 3, if they use the same amount of hours, is about $40,000, which projecting is what our appropriations will be next year, and that's what it should be.
One of the issues is that our intent is to not have them use the same number of hours and have wasted hours. So if we're gonna increase it, if let's say it's gonna go up 18 or 20%, it's gonna be their responsibility to take a look and assess the number of hours that they have. And if they wanna get it back to where it was before, then they need to be more responsible on booking the number of hours that they're actually gonna use and not overbooking just because of the sake that, you know. So I think by putting the increase in place, is not only gonna free up the fields, and make them more accountable for the time that they book, but it's also gonna, the revenue will stay exactly the same, and it'll be new revenue that we'll be able to bring in to help bring us up to those figures. From what I understand, a lot of times, the field is booked and it's only used part of the time in which it's been booked. So then, if they're being charged by the hour, then it would behoove them to sit down and say, okay, well, we paid $5,000, or we paid $51.60, or $31.24 last year, and now we're paying $51.60, but if we cut those 2 hours, we didn't use it, we're back down to the $31.26, and that allows us to be able to offer it to other participants for the 2 hours that they don't use it. So I think it's a good point to really get them to start to really look at how they're booking it, how much they're booking it, and put it back in place, but also at the same time free up additional hours to schedule other groups.
There's a motion on the table for 6 and 15 right now. Is there any other questions?
I think there was a motion
No,
for
it's
6 and 13.
6 and 13, sorry.
And I'll make a motion to go 6 and 15.
So you're asking you're amending the existing motion to 6 to 15?
What are you saying?
5 and 15? If we can keep youth sports down?
The reason why, and I kind of wish they were here, but it's, if we go to $5 on youth sports, yes, soccer still paid more, but the reason they paid more because their numbers are down. We don't know if those numbers are accurate, because I'm looking at certain times of having it, where if I go to 5 on lacrosse, in 17 they would have paid less by $100, and last year they would have paid $400 more. So really, it's not a change in that regards. I don't think increasing it, I'm actually okay with the 6 and the 15, but your thoughts? No, we've got 5 and 15, we have 6 and 13, we have 6 and 15.
See, again, I go back to the fact that if we're looking at it, to bring them down to 5, I think, again, by them adjusting their hours, they're gonna get them down to that spending level
I
at
don't
the
think
beginning.
that 5 is
Right.
gonna force them to reevaluate their numbers.
They're not, their hours, right. So I think,
I don't wanna go do this?
Right, I'm just thinking because it is, you know, town is town, you know? Like we had said, you know, the goal, it would be great if town could be free, if youth, you know, town youth sports could be free. So that's my only, you know, to keep, if possible, to keep that lower. And then looking at Salisbury's $5 an hour for town youth sports.
I think one of the ways to present it is that if we look at the 6 at this point in time, and we can get by doing that, we can access more hours to give it out to other clubs or other participants. I think at that point in time, we can say that our goal is to really get that reduced to almost 0. But if we just continue to do the same as we're doing, we're never gonna get there. But by having them cut back on their hours, not scheduling hours they really don't need, and allowing us to bring other revenue in, is gonna help us get to the direction where we can go to 15 or 17 for non-residents and start working backwards to bring theirs down over time. But I just think if we keep it at the same or we keep it low at this point in time, and we don't get them to really cut back on their usage, number of hours of usage, and it's really just they're scheduling it because it's available, I think we're not gonna be able to bring in new revenue to help us bring that figure down over time. So I think that might be the answer to it, is by having them shorten up their time of usage to where they really wanna use it for that time, and free up the non-use time to bring in new revenue, will help us get to the point where we can actually lower the residential fee.
You have a proposal for a number? Because right now I got 3 on the table that we have to make.
I agree with you on the 6. I don't know where I am on the 15.
Well, 15, 13, 15, so it's almost like,
Not at 13.
all right, so as it sits right now, it looks like 6 and 15 are kind of is the middle of the road here.
I wish I had that information on the cross.
I called the house, but,
I almost had you.
huh?
I almost had you jumped in.
What are you looking for?
I would have done it.
Lacrosse club, what lacrosse clubs pay for field usage? Didn't come out right.
Trying to get an idea to compare. We've been talking soccer. We didn't realize the club lacrosse, what they would pay. We were trying to compare both sides.
You know, like Storm or Nestle or, you know, those teams that used to.
Did you text her email?
She's reaching
But
out to
most
us.
of them are gonna be
Oh, she is?
on turf.
Oh, okay, so you're not just waiting for her to get back to you?
Most of them are on turf.
You want to text her too?
Yeah.
Well, it's been a year since my kids played them.
When Natalie did it a few years back, it was Windsor and down in, Windsor School in Boston for reps, and then down in Mansfield, had a turf there, and then when she did Wizards, it was over at the, I was over in Newbury, up by, Hanscom. And the other club was over at, the Essex Aggie, that's all turf.
Board of Selectmen meeting starts at 7.
And the new club that's in Salem is using Cambridge turf as well.
Just, okay.
So,
Then I rescind my 6 and 13 and support the, what was it, Dave's at 6, and I'd like to say 5 and 15.
That's
So
what,
6
that's
and 15,
what
but,
Brian's
you know,
got.
yeah.
Brian's got 5 and 15, Dave's got 6 and 15.
And I don't
Steve
wanna go
hasn't weighed
6,
in yet, and if I weigh in, I'm gonna be on both ends. I was going with 7 and 15, but I will support a 6 and 15.
no, I said I would bring the 26 and 15. I don't think, I would like to do the 5, I really wanna do the 5, I just don't think, I agree with Dave, I don't think it's gonna take
It's not gonna cost enough of a push to get
reevaluate their hours.
because they're still gonna have the same amount of hours, and they're not gonna care, because it's not gonna make a difference to them.
I think the other thing, as I said earlier, I think we have to go through the growing pains of 1 year to really see what happens, because we're making some assumptions that teams are gonna maybe go elsewhere, teams are gonna do this, you know, but I think we really have to kind of just put it out there at whatever we decide, and then go through that first year and see what happens, see if it does free up more time, and if we can go back and revisit the residential fee, and then it gives us an opportunity to really feel that first year out and see what's going on. Because right now, we're making speculation and assumptions that things might take place, or things might happen, or someone's gonna cut back on their hours because it's a little more expensive, and they might not. They might say, you know what, we want that time, we wanna set it, and we'll be willing to pay the extra, so we really need to let it play out and find out.
So I'm curious, from your standpoint, for lacrosse, would that end up upping your fees for the students, or would it cut back your hours of renting the field?
Probably end up in the fees.
It would up the fees. That's-
Yeah, because you're
that's-
talking, for a full season, you're talking just going to 6, it's $1,200. I mean,
So, I'm curious as to why your answer isn't both. Does that say that you guys are not willing to reevaluate your hours?
What, the discussion that I've had with them, and I pushed them on reducing the hours, they need the flexibility. And they couldn't reduce the hours until basically the season starts.
For both games and practices?
Correct. Cause they don't know, you know, you're asking me now, January, to start in April, what our practice schedule's gonna be. I don't know that. I won't know till April. You know, if they don't nail that down till April, we don't find out from coaches.
this won't start with the spring, this will have to start in September with the fall, because there's no way we still have to get this
No,
submitted
I
and
know
approved,
that,
but I mean,
I just know that, like, when do you find out who your coaches are, and when do they have a
Yeah.
vague idea of when they think they're gonna have practices? I don't think that,
And it also changes. It changes by things going on at the school with school dances and activities. They change the practice at, you know, whatever. It was gonna be a practice because of the school dance. And we don't have our game scheduled till end of March at the, you know, a week before the season starts.
And what's your fees now?
180.
And this is a school team?
Yeah.
It is town league, so
It's
it's
town league.
Newbury, Rowley, and Salisbury.
Right. So what would the percentage of Newberries be on that team, on those teams?
Varies.
So
We
would
have
they?
different ones, different levels.
Okay. So does that program, I'm just asking because I'm new and I don't know, does that program fall under a residential or non-residential program?
residential.
Residential? And because they're a Newberry program?
they're
Program.
trying to across, yeah.
Okay, all right.
So I hear the a motion right now of $6 for youth, 15 for GPS,
For club level.
club level, or, I'm sorry, I apologize, you're right, Mark, club level. Any other questions?
Is this for both fall and spring, and we reevaluate for summer? Because we have nobody coming in during the summer, and I don't know if these prices would discourage people.
Well, I think summer, we'd have to come up with a clinic or skills or camp price per week.
Agreed, and again, another document I sent out gave projections for that. I'm saying if somebody was to use this per hour, like Detroit, the captain's practices, would these numbers prevail, or would we use something else?
Well, if they're using it, they're using captain's practice, how often they practice? For an hour, 2 times a week?
Not very often.
So that's $12 times 4 weeks, $50.
Okay.
Because if it's a captain's practice, I still want to keep it under the youth program. Again, and they're just looking for plays. Even for GPS, if their camp was what, 3 hours for 2 fields twice, so realistically, that would have been 2 hours or 3 hours at 15, so times 45, and then that would have been $90. I don't think that would be a big deal for them.
Okay,
So the question on the table now is, I have 6 and 15, do I have any more comments, questions, or concerns? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstaining?
I haven't,
Motion doesn't pass, we're still stuck at where we are.
I'm only just, because what was the $20 number?
For them? It would have bumped past year from 21,000.
Or do we do 17 and 5? Or is that still creating the same issue?
I
of
can-
making people account?
What's gonna happen if GPS lose, if a club team, does not renew it at near the same number of hours and generate that income, even if we replaced it with somebody coming in at 5, we're gonna lose a lot of revenue. We'll lose $10 per hour. And I'd rather keep people in place for a couple of years. And one challenge I would have with evaluating immediately after a year is it's gonna take a couple of years. It's gonna be like the,
Sure.
you know, let it run for a period of time, get a better sense of what other programs are out there that might be attracted here. Because everybody has said to me, many people have said, oh, I get lots of phone calls, people are always looking for space. we received 2 inquiries, right? From football, one from
Yeah.
flag football and one from Pentucket.
But they also know the fields are always used, so
We
that,
we
it's,
don't know why they made that.
we don't know either way. So the question would be, just for your information, it would go up 38%. It would be 29,000 from 21,000. It would go up $8,000 if they went to,
25%.
that's for 17, go to $17. 15, if you did $15, it would go up to 25 from 21. There was your 25%.
That's 25% or 20%?
For 20%, 21%, something like that. At 15.
Is that consistent with the surrounding areas?
It varies.
Yeah.
And to be honest, we're on the very low side of a lot of this stuff. We found some outliers that are way here and some are down there. But consistently, they're more, if you look at the mean, they're in the middle, they're way above what we are now.
I think it's fair to ask for a 20% increase where there hasn't been one.
So that puts them at 15.
Okay.
And the question is, are we at 6 or 5 then? 5 does, I agree with Dave, I don't think 5, and Jim pretty much just backed it with that, we're facing it. It doesn't really move the hours.
But even going to 6 isn't going to move any hours, it's just going
It's
to
gonna
be
more
reflecting on
for-
the families.
You're talking, again, we're talking,
What
at
if we
$5, at
change
$6 an
the
hour, we
deadlines?
were talking about $1,200 for a season, divided by everybody.
Weren't we gonna change the deadlines of when, so that they corresponded better with their scheduling?
Yes.
That was the discussion, yes.
Well, the initial deadline is in like a notice of intent in early,
That, we need feedback from them, we need to work with them on that, because we gotta find out how each, because I don't know if GPS and use soccer, because I'm just using them, because they're multiple, where Jim can just tell us, like, you, Luther Cross is, here it is. The other two, we're gonna have to kind of wait to see how their schedules go and plan their dates. And then for the springs, we're gonna have to combine all 3 and see what works.
again, typically, if you look at the different documents, if you look at different sites, they use the same template, it makes it quite easy. The idea was an earlier registration, so we have an idea of who is coming in, and then we can start seeing how many hours are gonna, approximate hours. It's not gonna be, we're not gonna get the rosters, we're not gonna have the exact number of teams, but we can say, yeah, Triton Cross is coming in. Right now, it's about 8 teams.
And we still
They're
have
gonna
to,
be about-
and we still have to discuss, how much are they paying up front? Are they paying it all now, we're gonna have to do refunds? Or are we gonna have them pay a portion until we figure out the hours are locked in? And they pay the balance that time, which I think is probably a better idea, after 50% up front. And then when whatever the balance is, whatever they use for hours, they can pay that if they're gonna use them all. If they don't, they're gonna scale back the hours, we'll open the hours up and then give them, and we'll charge them accordingly.
So could we put a motion on the table saying that non-youth sports would be $15 an hour and that would, can we still discuss the 5 and 6 or?
That's
do we
your,
have to-
anybody here can make a motion, I'm just kind of quarterbacking the part of this. So if somebody wants to make a motion,
I motion.
there's a motion on the table now that just to charge, currently, to charge non-youth sports $15 an hour. Are there any questions?
What do you mean by non-youth? Because
Well-
GPS would be a club program.
Whatever
isn't
our
in-
second
Hey,
tier program,
whatever you-
we have our tiers, right?
Because, yeah, I just referenced that because you go back to Salisbury, that's the question I was asking. If a club sport went to Salisbury, that would be
That would be $35 an hour.
for youth programs?
If the youth programs, it tells you right here, youth programs are
They listed?
Salisbury Youth Sports Organization, for example, Big Youth, Seacoast Youth, who pay a per participant per season fee. Salisbury-based youth sports organizations, teams that participate in regional leagues, not in-town organizations.
Seacoast is that a club team, like the Hurricanes?
You mean the base level?
Yeah,
Or Seacoast United, isn't there? Or they have their own place.
they do, but that's, well, that's another issue.
Well, this is Seacoast Youth Flag Football, which is a Triton, so.
That's the umbrella organization, each town
Right.
then has their own.
Right, so Seacoast Youth Flag Football for Triton, my son plays, and we
Right.
use Salisbury.
Right.
So Salisbury is Seacoast Youth Flag Football, the Triton organization's home base.
Yeah.
So when we have home games, it's behind Salisbury.
Okay.
And then the other districts have their own home base, home
Gotcha.
fields. So if you're playing against Triton, you're at Salisbury that day.
And what's their fee, do you know, that they pay Salisbury?
It would be
Is that the
the, tier
35?
two, so no, it's $5 per participant fee. For Seacoast Youth Flag Football. Because it's a Triton,
Right,
you know,
Salisbury part
although
of the
it's, I
type.
think it's in a gray area because
Right.
it is, you know, there is one person in charge and I can't say for sure, but I'm sure he's making a good amount of money.
Yeah.
But it is Triton
Right.
children,
Which could be Salisbury, Rowley, or,
Newbury,
Newbury.
right,
right.
right.
So what was our tier? We had our tiers already decided.
That was the document Mariah
Right.
built up.
I can open it.
We've got no 35 minutes before we have to shut down because the board.
Somebody also just sent it in an email, I believe.
Can you sign it?
Mark sent the budget already.
Is just this it?
I have new ones, so I'll get to do tomorrow.
All right, who's it on there? Kate?
But it's on the, it's, is that on the document that we had drafted?
Yes, the one we, that was going around in the room, so I'm just going back to see it.
But I guess what I'm saying is for club sports, it would be club regardless of
It would be whatever the for-profit tier.
The non-Triton programs.
okay.
So January 2nd, 2019 was when it was sent. It was sent by the treasurer.
I didn't get it.
It's like at the bottom of a bunch of,
You don't have the
Back and
document, do you?
yeah, I can pull it up, but I didn't know if we would have time.
Okay. We don't have.
It's just, I mean, it's the question right now is, looking at the other things, scheduling software, bubble soccer, signage, septic, GPS request, which, I mean, I'm gonna,
Can I suggest this? It seems that 15 is the number that we're, for the non-town programs to pay, and I think we all agree to that.
Yes.
It's just a matter of it's gonna be 5 or 6. Can we make this decision, if not tonight, at the first of the next meeting, so it's just done? And that would apply for winters,
it would start in September.
fall, spring,
If
and
the
summer.
board of selectmen approve it.
When do we have to have it to them by? gonna have to go before town too?
No,
I don't
No.
think so.
not this,
It's just
no.
the policy, right?
Yeah.
And the fee
Well,
schedule.
policy and
Yeah,
fees,
they
yeah.
can vote on
Well, we
it
meet
anytime.
twice a month, so
Okay.
whenever
So-
you get it to us, we'll.
And if we alert potential users and regular users by March, that should give them enough time to
Well, I don't
start.
wanna, we should try and wrap it up, we were already gonna try and wrap it up
But,
tonight, right?
yeah,
Mhm.
5 or 6 doesn't matter to me at the end of the day. The 15 is, I think, is the right number.
Jim, let me ask you one more question. What would the impact be of $1 per hour for your fees?
Be about $800 a year.
So how many participants do you have in the program, approximately?
It varies, it's been 110 to 150, 180.
So it would be an increase of probably about between $8 and $12 per player, per family.
And then how many students do you have that don't pay, that are on scholarship?
I have not heard of any.
No?
I've heard that some have asked for it, and we've got a plan in place for that. I haven't heard of anyone coming in
And you,
this season yet.
Wait,
And-
I'm
and-
sorry, can you just repeat the statement before that, when you said, you asked what the difference $1 a day, and you said $800?
No, he said the difference between a 5 and 6 would cost about $800.
Right, the difference would be,
For the season.
Okay,
with anywhere from 120 to what, 160 participants?
112.
It varies.
Yeah.
Just to give you an idea, it works out to about $11.07
Right,
at the $6. That's how much the increase would be
yeah,
compared to,
that's what I'm trying to get to.
again, I'm just using spring.
Mariah, to your earlier question about the scholarships, between
It's
the town
$3.39,
town
so it's
programs,
about
the
$8
scholarships range
a person
from a couple
is
of
what it
years.
works out to, based off of the 112
The
number.
board will have a small.
So if I take what you would have paid
identify-
minus what you did pay for both scenarios and divide it by 112, that's where I was getting my numbers.
Right.
So I have $11.07 at $6 an hour increase and $3.39 at $5 an hour. So,
What I'm saying, Mariah, is the different programs will have between two.
so it's gonna be an increase of $8 a person. per season.
Scholarships where they pay 0 or substantially less. And in one of the programs, we'll just have a small number of the boards make that decision, so it's not public knowledge of who's getting that information.
A couple of hours.
I wouldn't want to affect,
Soccer has many more.
okay. I mean, with that, I guess I'm just looking at the bigger picture of, working in Salisbury and knowing the hardships that they have and that the kids that don't pay to play town sports, the few that do play town sports, does that add to the burden of the sport to then now be paying that much more per student that you're paying for?
So they have to pay for the uniform and travel.
so let's break this down. The difference between $6 and $5, how many hours they would have to cut?
But I don't think
Just-
they're gonna
just-
cut hours.
But just
I
saying,
was just
you're
trying
gonna,
to find a part, like, not even 25% and still have flexibility?
Well, the numbers that we just came up with was a difference of $8 between the $5 fee and the $6 fee was it was approximately $8 difference. So when you look at it from that point of view per participant, and that's just a rough estimate depending on what the numbers would be. So I understand what you're saying about the ones that are on scholarship, I just don't know how many there are on scholarship, and what's the criteria for scholarship? Is that the free lunch program and that stuff that qualifies them for no fees in sports like they do at high school? If a student's qualifies for free lunch, they don't have to pay the user fee at the high school level. So what qualifies a participant in a club sport or a team sport program?
They would typically approach the board
Right,
and say,
Request a
help with
hardship.
it and something.
Yeah, request a hardship,
Right.
okay. So-
And for some of these sports, it may not be, based on, not necessarily based on school, because we've had a family, whose husband, father, was laid off, and he was a solo.
Yep.
So it's not caught up with the school system.
Right.
But people
Right.
knew
Yep.
that because this factory burnt down,
Right.
he's not getting, so it was like, yeah, no problem.
Right.
Just because I don't know, I'm not maybe the one that makes that,
Right, exactly, yep.
so it doesn't mean there aren't any, I just don't, I'm not the one who would know.
I mean, breaking down on a per person basis, it's the difference of paying $11 more a season or $3.39 more a season,
But I'm still asking the other question,
which is, how many hours do they have to give up?
like, how many hours do they run now?
Just to give you an idea right now, if they paid $39.20 to go to 51, to get it from $51.20 for $6 an hour, back to the or $51.60 back to $39.20, that's a difference of $1,240. That's 25% of their budget. That's 25% of their hours. They have to talk from 860, take a quarter of them out.
And how many hours do they rent?
860 total for the season.
So
So
what's
that
that
would
a
mean
week?
they'd have to take out about
Huh?
200 hours.
It's a total of 86. It's 86 hours a week. I have the numbers all
They
broken
rent,
out.
yeah, well, that's what I'm asking, so
Yeah.
they rent how many hours a week?
86,
And they would need to reduce it to
20, 60 something.
About 62 hours.
be
And
somewhere
if they
between
did it the other way,
Right, or just
Yeah.
charge the families more, which I think that's gonna be the outcome.
Well,
And
I,
so we're
well, they've already
just-
said it, no matter what we do, I mean, if we did it one way or the other, they may still do either way.
Increase.
And I can
It
cut
all
hours
depends,
real
he
easy.
doesn't
I'm
know,
gonna
he
cut
can't judge it, and correct me if I'm
Saturdays.
wrong, please. I said, until you see what the numbers all lay out, you don't know if it's gonna be hours or an increase in price, because you don't know how it's gonna work out yet, number one.
Same as you.
Well, that's what I'm saying, we're all sitting here, even yourself is speculating on what it could be or what it might be, but not knowing what it will be. I think that's the question.
And when you do cut hours, what hours are you cutting? If you're renting from 3 to 8 on Monday through Friday, I'll be happy to cut from 3 to 4, from 7 to 8. Because nobody else can get there.
Could we
From 3 to 4.
possibly say if we went with the $6 an hour, could we, as the rec committee, set up, a fund where we help pay for kids that can't afford town sports? Is that possible?
That would be
Because
that'd be a legal issue, I'm not sure what we have the
Well,
ability to do.
we shouldn't be paying for kids from Salisbury, that's a program issue,
Okay, so
Yeah.
from Newbury.
but again, that should be the,
Individual
Where-
programs
Oh,
usually
right,
have
so
their
that's-
hardship, they usually have their hardship
yeah, they have
process,
their
you know.
process to do that.
That's the piece we have to,
Right.
it's
But
unfortunately.
I'm just thinking, our goal is not to make more money, it's to cut back on hours. And if it's not gonna end up cutting back on hours,
Oh,
Well, I think gym is just one situation, I think lacrosse might be different than soccer, and I don't know, again, how much the soccer teams overbook the actual fields, I don't know what that is. But, you know,
About overbooking, part of the reason we set up our schedule the way we did is previous town rec committee was adamant about field usage.
Right.
And we basically set ours up to mirror the soccer so that we would protect our fields so they wouldn't get overused and we could charge.
right.
So now we need the flexibility because, again, even with soccer, they don't find out their schedule till the week before it starts.
Yeah.
And it was difficult. My daughter plays soccer, and, Friday night, it's where's tomorrow's game?
But I think the league has to have a better idea, I mean, the program itself has to have a better idea, they might not finalize it, but they have to have a better idea that there's gonna be a game and where it's gonna be, but the individual teams might not know, but I'm sure the program must know, we got a game tomorrow at 1:00, but who's playing in it, let's figure that out.
A lot of changes.
The teams, my daughter's
Right.
team doesn't know where she's playing.
No, but I mean, the program must know that there's gonna be,
Well-
that there's a league, there's a field booked, and then it's the day before or the weekend before, they say, okay, well, team so-and-so and team so-and-so is gonna play during that time.
Do you submit the field's
We s-
availability to
yes,
the
yeah.
leagues?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm
And
saying.
then the league needs to coordinate with the officials, which
Right.
is a hope. And some of the challenges, there are not a lot of officials anymore available, particularly for lacrosse.
Hmm.
So they want group games so that you'll do the U9, U11, 13, 15 in one sitting, so one official's there. So you can't say, oh, 9 to 10, and then 10 to 11. So it's a lot of coordination, and that's why the flexibility of, okay, when's it gonna happen? Once the season is started, then it's easier to say, all right, we're gonna have a group, and even, but then if there are changes with, I know with some teams, Cape Ann, they may only have one coach for 3 U11 teams. So they're gonna rearrange the schedule
Around the coach, right?
around the coach,
Yep.
and Cape Ann will use Brookwood, and they field up at Gloucester, and shift everything around. So it's not easy. I agree that we need to do per hour, just figure out what number that doesn't overburden our users and provides enough revenue that would cover our allocations.
When was the last time they had an increase?
Who?
Any of the users?
12 years.
I don't know about that, because I know
Well,
that,
2006, that's the same rates that they were showing then, and nothing's changed.
I know they approached it, was it to 11 or so? They had a conversation, and they weren't able to, the rec committee at that time said it wasn't worth trying to open up this can of worms of raising money. We wanted to keep the fields utilized at the rate that they were being utilized. We had other income at that time. We've lost, what was it, 15%, 20% of our revenue from not returning or other programs just.
And we've also picked up additional expenses because of that, because
No,
a lot of things have shifted. I'm just saying, you're going one way, I understand, we've lost revenue, but we've also picked up expenses that are now being attached to our budgets, we have to make sure we're accounting for both.
I respectfully disagree.
Oh.
The rec department was always responsible for the maintenance of the field.
Didn't come out of our budget though.
Yes, it did.
They used to pay it out of that, they did.
Yes, and in fact, our budget,
Then fine,
our
Mark, we don't need to
responsibilities.
keep going, we have 15 minutes tops before we're done.
So I guess my other question is, has it been since 2006, or when was the last?
It's been probably, let's call it that for now, with
The
our
thing
expenses
is,
going down
the
by
prices
half.
haven't changed. It's been talked about and discussed since then, but nothing's changed since 2006.
But our expenses have gone down.
No, they went up, didn't they?
No, they used to pay close to 40,000.
Excuse me?
How much did the prior rec committee pay for all the maintenance?
I don't,
Because we went to the town, because the town administrator said we saved substantial money by bringing it in-house with better control over when it's being done.
yeah, that, I don't know, I can't answer that, I'd have to.
Otherwise
I'd have to
Yeah,
go
we don't know any of the books
Yeah.
or anything
I
from the prior.
I know the town of Newbury didn't take over,
The maintenance.
even the financial piece of it until recently. So
Mhm.
whatever was paid to the rec committee, but they had a separate account, and it was never gone through the town. So that was before that, that's changed now.
One more thing about scheduling, the way things get messed up. This last year, spring of 18, we lost the entire month of April. We weren't able to get on the field, so
Right.
that throws off all our games. We reschedule throughout the week and on Sundays and stuff, make up games. So that impacts the entire season.
Yeah,
All right, how about this?
I agree.
How about 5 and 15, no refunds? Or we go
Well, that
higher
was
with
already
refunds?
What
part
do
of the
you
policy.
mean, no refunds? Refunds for
The
inclement
season.
weather or once
We don't-
you
we
have
don't-
your schedule, that's it, that's what you're.
No, I mean, once the season starts, it is what it is. But if we're gonna go to the lower number,
I agree.
we're all crazy.
No releasing hours, is that what you
No,
mean?
well, if they wanna release the hours, I mean, as long as it's if lacrosse is giving it to youth soccer, that's fine, they're paying the same thing. If they release the hours to GPS, the GPS has got to pay
How are
the
we
extra.
gonna monitor
I
that?
have no idea, and that's my concern about paying
Well,
$5 an hour, because GPS then could do something like that, and I'm not accusing them, I'm just saying, a situation such as, they could do that, in essence, try to do soccer all of a sudden, all of a sudden I look at the hours, and GPS is all in the field, and they're getting it, the try to do soccer's hours at $5 an hour instead of the 15, we're up $10 a pop.
Our current policy says you cannot re-rent or give your space to anybody else. That's our current policy. The question is, you're right, the monitoring of it is a challenge. Many of these programs in other communities, it's all based on trust.
I think it makes sense for leagues to reschedule games with each other. Maybe not practices, but games. You
Except that
know,
they're different fields.
but they practice on,
Different fields.
Yeah,
Lacrosse,
you
for
just said-
example,
You
lacrosse
just
has
said
two
games
fields.
and not practice. They practice on an open field, but they play
Right,
on
right.
different lined fields.
but let's say soccer's on one field and lacrosse needs to make up a game. You could approach soccer and say, hey, no, it won't work.
You'd have to reline the
Different
fields.
fields, different
Oh,
lines.
okay.
And they're, but lacrosse will play the
Yeah,
game
it's
on
different, it's different with the
And
girls.
then on top of, you talk age groups, on top of that,
Yeah, it's almost like softball and baseball, you can't interchange the fields. to
Right,
play them.
right.
Do the same thing.
One other question, we had talked a little bit about girls soccer, that over the summer, using it, we said between 6 and 10 times for summer pickup games.
Catherine's practices.
yeah, how many hours do you think they're looking to use it for?
Is
Use it 6 to 10, how many hours per time?
hour and a half a week,
How much?
hour and a half a week, because they have one
One
game.
field, one field?
Yes.
So one field, an hour and a half,
15 hours.
times, worst case, times, times 10 would be 15 hours, times $5 an hour, $75.
All right, so I can approach them about $75 for.
Worst case, it's between 75 and 90.
Well, we haven't got a final motion on it yet.
Just
so
give you an idea,
it's
if
about
it was
15.
6 times 15, right, it's 90.
Nice.
So worst case is $90 compared to 75,
And
so you're still under 100.
I just wanna make sure that you guys understand too, that once this committee votes, it's still gotta go for a vote before the board is selected.
Oh, we don't, we already
Yeah,
said that.
yeah, so it's not, it won't get.
Nothing's final,
Yeah.
that's right.
They may come back and say, we're too high, they may say we're okay, or they may say, you guys need to go back, these numbers aren't going to work. So I mean,
And that's our job to show them how the numbers work. Jim, the other thing to keep in mind is just getting, okay from Triton Youth Soccer to use their equipment. It's usually not a problem, Jason's really been good about it, but
Right.
it's their equipment that's on our fields.
Mhm. So I'm just trying to get the information with the girls who are putting it all together, so,
Gotcha.
thank you.
My final comment is that there hasn't been an increase since approximately 2006.
No.
I don't know of anything that you could buy in 2006 that you can't buy now that doesn't have more than the 10 or 12% increase, in which we're really looking at if we go with the 6%. I mean, the $6 a fee. I just don't think it's unreasonable over that period of time to be able to say that. And again, I think that the explanation has to be, even if we use Jim as an example right now, we're talking a difference of $8 per family, approximately. Of course, we're using assumption numbers, we're not really sure. But the fact that those fees have stayed the same for all those years, and they've saved that money, I don't think it's a major burden at that point in time. But I do think it gives us an opportunity to, like you said, to look at it over the next couple of years with the intent of being able to say, we're making more revenue, therefore we can start to lessen the burden on residents and bring it down to 5, possibly 4, possibly 3, to get it to that point. But I don't,
or the other thing we've talked about doing with that additional revenue is putting on other things, doing other programs for other people, other than, don't get me wrong, I love sports, other than sports. We can look at the theater, we can look at other things. This is the idea, so yes, the money comes in, it is not to make money, it is to then reapply and reuse it for something we can use.
Can I just ask one more question? So I think roughly, I'm trying to go back in time, when my girls played youth lacrosse, it's
Mhm.
maybe $1.25. now you're saying it's 180. So what's your increase if it hasn't been field usage? Refs?
Rest has gone up, we've had to buy equipment. Back before the board that I'm on began, there was one person running it, and the league was kind of red flag because they were behind on payments. They weren't covering costs properly, really shoestring along. So we've brought it back into being fiscally responsible and being able to, pay our fees when we register a team.
What does youth soccer charge?
I believe
And
it's
what-
isn't it I believe it's 160.
Trying to figure out what youth sports cost nowadays, but I'm not in it.
Oh, it's, so, 160 times soccer times football times travel basketball, which is 380
Mm-hmm.
for my fifth grader to
Don't
play
you love that?
town basketball.
Well, you play in town, then you play in if you're on the travel. It's not, you're playing rec basketball, it's not as much, but when you do that, because you have additional gym time and stuff, and then you're talking indoor compared to outdoor.
There's no additional gym time, it's just because it's travel.
All that you had the extra practice, and then you had to pay for refs and stuff, because usually the rec league, you're not really, sometimes you're paying
Right.
refs, but, yeah.
Right, yeah, so it's,
So.
And there's no family cap,
Nope.
because they're all different organizations.
No, I know basketball, they have a cap.
Well, in the
So,
sport
over
it
to
is,
kids.
but not across sports.
No, not across sports,
Not
no.
in- no.
So, okay, so when, in response to what you were saying with, so 20% increase to tier 3, which, that makes up, I think, the 12% plus some.
Right.
And then, the goal, I think, should be to bring down town sports so that kids can play town sports for, as cheap as we can make it for them.
Right.
So.
But I think the risk, I
And this
understand.
is new,
Right.
we are going to a new system, it's not that we're still back in 2006.
Right.
We're going from a per person, fee, now we're going to per hour, so I think, maybe that in itself is gonna make some changes, so that we can see it out there, we can see the calendar, this is who should be where at what times, and it's black and white, there it is. The more money is coming in, but I just don't think that it should go out to the families. And that's,
I agree with you, but I think here's one of the issues. I think if we're gonna lose any participants, it'll be the $15 rate participant, not the $6 or
and it's not
$5
about
rate.
losing them, I think it's just
No,
about
but-
straining
right.
the families, because the families are still, they're gonna make it work, they're gonna make
Right.
sure that their kids can
Right.
play.
Well, I agree. I think if we're gonna lose somebody though, we're gonna lose the higher revenue, which we could end up at the end of the year actually with less of a revenue. And looking now at the families for the next time saying, our revenue went down because we lost 4 non-resident leagues because we went up to $15 because we got the increase going there. And now we're looking at next year saying, okay, we're in worse shape now, we've got to increase the residential.
We're still a lot cheaper, I mean, what was it, $15 an hour? If you look at Salisbury, it would have been, it's $35 an hour.
Well, that's
That's
what
why I'm still
I
struggling with
think
the
we're-
15.
Exactly.
We're
And
competitive with.
That's why I'm
clubs.
struggling with both, because I think, we're talking about Salisbury being 35, what does Salisbury charge for residents?
Five. Free, I'm sorry, it's free, and then it's $5 for youth sports.
The question we're not answering is, how many club teams, for lack of better terms, do they have? You can have a price and say, we're not competitive, but if they get a goose egg,
Right.
they get a goose egg, and you get a goose egg, they can charge $50 an hour. They get nobody, because they don't want anybody, because they don't need.
Here within $35 or $50 an hour.
But I think that
but
a
what I'm saying is-
20% increase, I think that's realistic. I think that if we were
On
to
the cl-
jump from, where we are now up to $30 an hour, that would be what, like a 70%
But
increase?
nobody wants to do that.
Right, so I agree, I think that 20%, I think that that's a realistic increase. So going to $15 an hour for club, but I just argue with the town, with the families, the ones who, it's not a choice, to play club something, you're putting that out there, you're choosing to pay that extra money, but for your child to play town,
It's
with
childcare.
classmates,
I kind of agree with you, but if I was coming from your approach, I'd be saying, let's go to $20 for non-participants and go back to charging no fee for the residents.
And then what?
Because now you're talking the same amount of revenue coming in, and
I
really.
still wanna be able to afford club
We're-
soccer
we're
too.
not-
Well, but see, that's what I'm trying to say, so I think, see, and I guess, and I guess the conflict you have here is you're also a parent that's writing the check at the other end as well.
Well, which I think is a good thing.
It's a good thing. Yes, it
Because,
is.
you know,
Yeah. I
I hope I'm
Right,
representing.
but I think that's what, my solution to you, to your comment would be, we go to $20 an hour on the non, and we don't charge the residents.
And
We
then
charge
what-
no residents.
And I'm.
See, that's why I agreed 13 to 15.
But see, I think, here's the other piece of that, is that, so if you have 3 of them that are playing on residents, and you're playing youth soccer that's not a resident, so now you don't have to pay for the other 3, and you're only increasing a $5 increase on the other one. So it is, you know, it's a balancing act when you look at it and say, so we go to $20 for non-revenue and 0 for non-residents and 0 for residents. You know, what happens is a family like you that might have 3 of them playing as a residence and 1 playing as a non-residence, you get a small increase or a $5 increase on the non-residents, but now you pay 0 on the other 3. So you've really relinquished the burden as far as the financial overall burden to the family. So I don't, you know.
I disagree with that respectfully, in that there are two elements to that. Once a club team, there's a limited number of club teams available in soccer, lacrosse, field hockey.
Yep.
Field hockey's, there are basically 3 places they play: out on the Cape, up at Seacoast, and over at Seacoast is Amesbury, and then one down like Lexington, way.
And they usually play in turf fields too, don't they?
That's all.
That's all they play.
So they're done.
The
The
ball's not
lacrosse teams, the only club teams around, don't play around here.
Right.
Seacoast is trying to get their program started, sister program started. That's up there at turf. Then there's soccer. Again, the only soccer programs North Shore here, and then Seacoast. So there's not a lot of stuff here. And that becomes a challenge. If they leave, there's not a lot of places that are gonna be coming in to fill their spot. With the town programs, there might, and this is a conflict that within their own league, with the Cape Ann Football League, Pentucket was looking to bring their team to our field, but the costs were too high, which is causing a conflict within that league.
The costs were too high because we were per person and not per hour, because of the volume of the players that play on a football team.
I'm not disagreeing with that, the cost was too high. That's causing conflict because now some Triton kids from Newbury would be able to play for Pentucket or for the Ipswich Triton team, Ipswich Newbury Byfield team. So that causes all, but that's not our problem. The only additional place we'll get revenue is with flag football. I don't know the policies that they have in place in terms of number of hours practicing and the number of games that they are allowed in the games. Their games are on Sunday?
Saturday.
On Saturdays, so we're cutting to, how many practices do they have?
So depending on the season, they're not allowed to practice during the week. They can only practice a half an hour before the game.
For the game.
So we're not getting a lot of additional revenue for that time we lost. I can say with some confidence, these club teams, they wanna stay in one spot. If they move, they're gonna, at some point, as people up at, good evening, we're just about to wrap this up.
And I think.
But come on in anyways.
20% increase is realistic.
So here's a solution that we can, I'll make a motion now that we go $5 for resident and $16 for non-resident. We get to where we want with the residents, and a $1 difference in the non-residents is gonna put us in a situation where our revenue will be the same.
And it was a 19% increase.
The revenues are gonna be the same.
Well,
So it would be,
but it keeps us at the 5, so we're not, it's only a $3 increase to the residential, and now it would be how much of an increase to the?
Well, it's not an increase because they're going from, if you look at 5, you were at $3, the way it works out.
Would be a $3
Yeah.
increase instead of an $11 increase at 6.
Yeah.
So if we went that route, so how much would the increase be as far as the non-residents? If we went the extra $1.
It would go from,
I think it's gonna be more of a 25% increase. Cause I
Yeah.
think that was what I was hedging at before, when I was saying the 5 and 17.
Right, and I know we were talking about 17, so I'm saying let's look in between, in the middle between the 15 and the 17, go 16 on one end and 5 on the other.
30%. Technically what it does, it goes from up to 376 divided by the 21,000 right now to 30% increase.
Right.
And I know we've
And
talked
that's
about,
going from 15 to 16, so.
Yeah.
And the
If it's, just because you're talking small, the numbers you're going, by going $1, it's because of the hours and what they
Right.
paid.
Right,
Right.
exactly.
The one thing it could also help us if lacrosse or soccer picked up a dozen players, just a dozen. That number
it's really
also,
difficult with shrinking.
yeah, but I mean, when the enrollment's on the same, but
I think we need to table this until another meeting.
we have to break them then anyway.
We're not ready. I think we've
We're,
broken some
we're getting
ground.
closer.
We've
Getting
broken some
closer.
ground. And one of my other conundrum is, as much as I wanna make youth sports free, you still have, then you have this accountability of hour problem. Like, if it's free, then they can rent even more
Yeah.
hours.
Exactly.
you
No,
know?
and I agree,
And then
I
we
think
lose
that,
the other
I think
ones.
this is the first step. I think it's the first step to where we need to be, because I don't think that going up to $6 is going to
Agreed.
decrease hours.
There's one thing we do need, and I hate to say this, but there's one thing that we should be voting on tonight that we haven't. It was our policy that we passed. Everybody got a copy of it.
Right.
That was forwarded to us.
I'm not either. Well, unless you, this is,
checked my
This-
I got the budget thing you sent me
This
today,
was-
but that's the last thing I
This
got.
was sent at 6:02 of our last meeting, on the day of our last meeting.
December 4th.
Is that?
Is that pretty much the last document that we worked on here?
Yeah, that we put that we voted on it,
Did you
we
send it?
moved it to legal kicked it back to Ellen, who sent it to me, who I sent just before our meeting.
Oh, legal kicked it back?
Yes, it's all ready to go.
What did they
Did they
change?
change anything?
A few insertions.
Right. It was,
Parking permit, septic size, and your municipal post, that's all I got.
it was sent.
These,
on-
and I have every email that I've gotten from the committee, it's all in my
It
town.
was sent in 2 Word documents on January 8th.
Not January, go back to.
January 2nd,
No, no, go back to
9:59
the thing.
a.m. from the
I'm
assistant
curious.
treasurer collector.
Look the details.
No, it wouldn't be coming from her, it would be coming from me as I forwarded.
I'm wondering how many emails.
Is there an number?
I don't
That
have
is not what I sent.
Nope,
That's-
it's right
Oh, you
there.
sent-
That's this one, that's this one.
And
It
then,
would
No, no,
not
he's
come-
talking
would
about
not
the
come from the
Okay,
collector.
all right.
Yeah, let's see, that I've seen,
It would have been, what was our date of our last meeting?
December 4th.
I was away. beginning
so Mark wrote, Lindsay, I trust you had a festive
No,
holiday
that-
season at our
that's-
next meeting, Tuesday, January 8th.
That's not what I'm
blah, blah,
talking about.
No,
And then she wrote, right before that,
Does it go to her? Goes to, it came from
on
Ellen.
January 2nd, 9:59 a.m.
I don't agree with it. And I think it's because they have my email address incorrectly. Lindsay caught that the last time. So I'm not on anything.
I will resend it. And please respond back that you received
The
it.
problem is, we've gotta be done. We've got 1 minute.
Do we want to schedule another meeting?
We're gonna have to, the question is, do you wanna wait until the end of next month, or do you want, it's starting in a minute.
Thank you.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Is that your correct email?
Where is it? Yeah, it is.
Okay,
I don't know why I'm not getting it, but I got the one you sent today, I got.
here it is.
All right, so real quick before we end this thing, what are we looking at for the next meeting? Do you wanna wait until February 5th? And also, real quick, Mondays, we found out, because Mariah, you have a problem with Mondays.
Yeah, it's
So-
Tuesdays.
So Tuesday, okay, so the first Tuesday of the month is February 5th. I am unavailable the week of the 28th. So we either meet on the 22nd or we wait until the 5th. So it's both Tuesdays. I just gotta check.
So in the future, when you forward, can you change the subject matter?
Sure.
So that we know exactly, because all I saw was agenda.
Okay. Well,
Either one,
You-
22nd. It's fine for me.
What was that?
The January 22nd or February, I'm sorry, January.
For the same thing, the boards meet at the same time, so we could do it before them again. We can do both.
I'm good with both. If you need to do both, I'm good
I
with both.
feel like we have
All right,
Okay,
let's plan on the 22nd at 5:30, get done at like 10 minutes to 6, 10 minutes to 7 like we have to do right now, and then we'll plan again the 5th. So we're gonna be literally right before them every time now, so 5:30 to 6:50, so we're gonna have an hour and 20 minutes. Is there any motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn
Second.
at 6:50.
Any discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Aye.